If you've ever struggled with spotting the difference between active and passive voice, you're not alone. You can say the exact same thing in two different ways, but the way you choose to say it depends on the purpose of your sentence. So, what is the difference between active and passive voice, and when should you use each one? Well, before we talk about that, first you'll need to know the difference between the subject and the object of a sentence.
Every sentence has a subject, an action, and an object. The subject does the action, and the object receives the action. Let's take a look at a couple of examples. In the sentences, Alex kicked the ball and the ball was kicked by Alex, the subject is Alex since he's doing the kicking, and the object is the ball since it is receiving the kicking. This sentence, the ball was kicked by Alex, is in passive voice. One way you can tell the sentence is passive is because it uses a by phrase. Even if the subject is obscured altogether, like if the sentence said, just the ball was kicked, you can still tell that it's passive because you can add a by phrase. Here are 3 examples of sentences in passive voice. The cup was knocked off the table, the girl was hugged, and the food was eaten. Notice how you can add by the subject to the end of each of those sentences? In order to change a passive voice sentence to active voice, switch the order of the subject and the object so the subject comes first. This places the emphasis of the sentence on the subject, the thing doing the action. You might notice that this sentence is more concise than its passive voice counterpart. Voice is preferred in a lot of writing styles, especially in English or creative writing. It creates a more vivid picture when you place the emphasis of the sentence on the subject instead of on the object. However, just because active voice is preferred in most cases doesn't mean that passive voice doesn't also have its place. In fact, passive voice is commonly preferred in scientific writing because the importance is in the action and the object. The audience doesn't really care who the researchers or scientists are, they care more about the procedure and the results of the experiment. For example, in a study about how sugar water affects bees' health as opposed to honey, a researcher would probably write, one group was fed honey, while the other was fed sugar water. It would simply be unnecessary to say, the researchers fed honey to one group and sugar water to the other. The subject just isn't as important in this case as the object and the action. Sorry, bud. Passive voice can also be helpful for if you want to obscure the identity of the subject altogether. This can be if you don't know the identity of the subject, or if it would be somehow inappropriate to reveal the identity. For example, you might say, the diamonds were stolen. If you don't know who stole the diamonds, you really can't reveal the identity of the subject. That's why you need to use passive voice in this case.
Alright, I know that was a lot of information, so let's do a quick recap. So, to review, active voice is when a subject does an action to an object, and it's often used in English and creative writing. Passive voice is when an object has an action done to them by a subject, and it's often used in scientific writing. I hope you liked this video, or to put it passively, I hope this video was liked by you. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.